So this is our third workshop. Basically, this is about the t-test and the ANOVA. The tool that we are using, that is the SPSS. So basically, first we go through the what we have to do in this workshops. So basically, first we understand the purpose and the types of t-test. So basically, in a general way, I can say that t-test and ANOVA are both are useful to find the differences between the groups or more than two groups. So basically, if the number of groups are two, then we use the t-test. If the number of groups increases or the more than two, then we use the ANOVA. So the other the feature of the ANOVA is the post-hoc. We explain it why we need the post-hoc and why how we have done it as SPSS. So this is our workshop 2 that we completed the last weekend on the Sunday. So in that workshop, we compute the variable in SPSS and find the scale reliability and check the Cronbach alpha. And then we work on the correlation Pearson and the Spearman correlation and also their interpretations. You can check on our YouTube channel. So the workshop recording is available there. So basically, so let's move to our first analysis, that is the t-test. Basically, t-test is an analysis where we compare the means of two groups. When there are two groups, for example, when we take a variable like exam scores between the two groups, so we are comparing the means of the exam score of two groups, for example, the male or female. Then we say that we are doing the t-test. In t-test, we have to understand and understand and note the three main things, that is the mean differences one thing, and confidence interval in the second thing, and the p-value, and the basically the three main factors that we needed to interpret our result in SPSS output and the APA 7 format in interpretation. So basically, this is the SPSS version 13 or maybe 29. So this is the pathway for the one sample t-test. Basically, t-test, there are many types of t-test, but today we focus on the one sample t-test. This is the simple t-test. So we start from the simple and we move for the next, the independent, and then the pair sample t-test, and the last is the one ANOVA. But in today workshop, we cover only the one sample t-test. So we go to the analyze, then the compare means, and when we click on it, we find a new dialog box, that is one sample t-test. When we click on it, we see that one sample t-test dialog box will be open, and we check in our variable that we need to find the differences between them. We send our test variable into the next tab and then click OK. When we click OK, we get this type of outputs. Basically, the red boxes give you the sense that these are the values that we need to input our data according to the APA 7 format in our result chapter. So basically, this is the analysis we done in background, and we take these values, that is, as we already mentioned about, we need the mean differences. You can see that in the optimism and the trust scale, the number of participants, that is 200, and its mean is 21.52 and standard deviation 4.8. So we need these values, that is the mean differences, and then we move toward the second thing, that is the interval. Basically, the difference interval, confidence interval in the second table, that is a one sample t. So you can see that the variable, that is the optimism and the trust scale, the value t, that is 0.79, and then we move toward the significance two tail data. There we see that the first variable is non-significant while the other variable is significant, because the value, the p-value is less than 0.05. So in this way, we find out which value we need, and then we interpret in our results. So one thing we need, that is the Pohandi in our t-test table. Pohandi basically are one sample t-test, basically the differences between the mean sample and the population mean. You can see that this is the online calculator. You go on the Google and just click t-test online calculator. You see this kind of interface. You just put the value there, the sample mean we got from the previous table, and then the population mean, and when we click the confidence interval, that is 95%, and in this way we got our Pohandi value, that is 0.05. And I also add a simple table there. You can see that if the Pohandi value is 0.2, it means our effect size is small. If 0.5, it's medium. If 0.8, if that is large. So we can say that the value that is around about 0.7, 0.6, or 0.8 is somehow is good enough to interpret in our research chapter. So basically, this is the whole APA7 format interpretation, our t-test, you can see that in first table we got the mean and standard deviation. In the second table we got the one sample t-test, and in the third one we get the Cohen d value. So you can see first I give the table number, then I mentioned the table heading that is intended in basically kind to APA7 format. Then I put the variable's name, and after that we put the mean, standard deviation, and the t value and the p value for showing that whether our variable is significant or not significant, and in the end the Cohen d value. So in simple way, I just interpret the values. There one thing to note that here we don't interpret the things in a bigger level or a detail or explanation. Here we just put the value take our value from the table and interpret it in a simple way that any person who go through our table and then study our interpretation easily understand what we said without any without any unnecessary information. For example, the table 1 revealed the non-significant mean difference of the optimism and trust with the t value 199 is equal to 0.79 and p is a greater than 0.5. So, and the value of Cohen d is a 0.06. So, which indicates the small fact size. However, the finding reveals the significant mean difference on the information seeking. That is our second variable that is significant. So, in this way, we first identify which variable, on which variable we need to run the t-test. After that, we go to the SPSS, select our variables, and then we put the variable in the target test and then run the analysis. And in the SPSS output, we get the mean, standard deviation, and the t and significance and the Cohen d value through the online calculator. And in this way, we interpret our value in table and the interpretation. So basically, this is the table that we already discussed. So you can, I just share the slides with you so you can understand and just take it as a template, and you can write, it help you write the result chapter in your thesis, in your dissertation, or in your reports. Yes, Miss, is there any questions, or I move forward?
Students, if you have any question, you can write in the chat box.
Or we can take the question in the end so that we can start the ANOVA right now.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, thank you, Miss. So let me fix it. So basically, and the second analysis is the ANOVA. In other words, t-test and ANOVA are the same things, but the major difference is that t-test only mirror the differences between the two groups. We already mentioned that, but ANOVA is I can say that advanced analysis. Here we can check the differences more than two, maybe three, more, maybe it's four, or maybe it's more than five groups. So we can easily run the analysis or check the differences between the group through the ANOVA. So basically, ANOVA compare the means of three or more groups if there is to check if the differences between the groups are significant or non-significant. For example, exam score, we are checking the exam score of the student across the different classrooms. For example, 9th, 10th, or we can say that, for example, 11th class, but they are divided into the group A, group B, group C. In this way, we check their exam score differences. So the values we need in ANOVA, that is the F value and the P value, we discuss in the next stage. So now this is the SPSS pathway. You can see that you have to go to analyze. The one thing you participant and observe that this time when we are working on the academic part for thesis, we need only analyze tab. In analyze tab, we have multiple or the number of analysis that are enough for our academic purposes. Other, for example, direct marketing or other tabs are needed when we're doing the market research. So that's not right our topic today. So we are just focusing on the academic. So we click on the analyze, and then we go to the compare means. In compare means, we discuss already the one sample t-test, and then we move to a one-way ANOVA. So when we click one-way ANOVA, you see a new dialog box, one-way ANOVA. We put our dependent variables and the factor on which we're checking our ANOVA. So basically, and you can see the next tab is the Post-Hoc. Basically, Post-Hoc give us the opportunity to see whether the age group, for example, in age group, there are the multiple categories. For example, the first category is 10-year-old persons. The second category is 20-year-old year person, and third is 30 and 40, and go on. So in this way, ANOVA give us the differences between the groups. But if we want to check whether there is a further comparison between, or I can say that in between the groups, we click on the Post-Hoc. It gives us detail or the explainable the data that help us to check whether this group how much or how many percentage, or I can say that the values are different from each other. So that's why we use the post group. When we click the post group, you can see equal variance assume a number of options like LSD Turkey. You just simple remember that we use Turkey for this normal data for the basically data. There are two types of data. One is the normal data and other is the non-normal data, or I can say that one is the data that fulfill our skewness and curtiness test, the other don't. So this time we are assuming the equal variance, assuming the equal data. So we just click on the Turkey. We use Turkey and then continue. When we continue, we click on the descriptives, and after that we click on the analysis, and we find our analysis output results. So in output results, again, we have the number of sample of the participant, that is the 20. You can see that in wisdom, there are three categories: the late adulthood, middle adulthood, and earlier adulthood. And each group has 20 participants. So we got the mean of each group and the standard deviation. Then we move toward the next, that is the ANOVA table. In ANOVA table, there are two type of group relevancy. That one is between the group, for example, late adulthood and the middle adulthood, and other is within the groups. Within group means late adulthood has 20 participants. What is the difference between within the group? So in this way, we can easily find it through the Post-Hoc. So and the second one is the happiness variable. Same for the between the group, within the group. We just go and check their differences. And then degree of freedom, that is the 2 and 57. And then we move to the F value. Basically, F value show there the ANOVA, whether they are significant or not, and it depends upon the p value, that is 0.00. So in this scenario, our both variable are significant, wisdom and happiness. When we move to the next, that is the Post-Hoc test multiple comparison table. We use the Turkey HSD. We also use the Befroni or LSD, but this time we use Turkey. You can find out why we use Turkey. You just click on go on the ChatGPT or the Chrome and just say that why you use Turkey in ANOVA. You find the multiple articles, the answers there. So no need to work on it. We just focusing on the practical way on the SPSS more. So that's why we just focus on it. So dependent variable wisdom, and the age group is late adulthood. So you can see that late adulthood is our one group. It's comparing itself with the other group, that is the middle adulthood and the earlier adulthood. We just see there the mean differences and the significance value. That's all. And then we move toward our next I think that is our basically to find the effect size. Basically, this is called the eta square. In t-test, we need the Khudi. In ANOVA, we need the effect size. Eta square. How we find the eta square? We just divide the sum of square, or we can say that between the groups mean of square value divided by the total values. So we find we find the eta square value, and if the eta square value is 0.2, it means it's small. If it is 5, it means it is a medium. Otherwise, if it is around about 0.7 or 8, it is large. That's good to interpret in our interpretation. So this is the interpretation of ANOVA. We got the descriptive. From descriptive table, we got the mean and standard deviation. From ANOVA, we got the degree of freedom and the F value and the significance value. In the Post-Hoc test, we find the differences between the groups and within the groups, and after that we find the eta square value. We just take their values that we need. You can see that here are the boxes, the red boxes, the green boxes, the green boxes. Basically, these are for you understanding that what value we need, because in SPSS output there are the multiple tables there. We most of the time we just anxious about which values we take. So that's why I highlighted it, and it helps you a lot. So again, the table first, the table numbering, that will be the 2 in our case, and then the table heading, that is the mean, standard deviation, one-way analysis, variance in happiness and wisdom across the age. And then we start the table. First, we give the variable name. Then we put the age groups, that is the late adulthood, middle adulthood, and we put the mean, standard deviation, and the F value. And you can see that here I put the asterisk there. Basically the asterisk represents the value of P. You can see in note in the end of the table, the P value if less than 0.001, then we put the 3 asterisk. The asterisk value represent here the significant value. Then we put the eta square value and the Post-Hoc. You can see that in Post-Hoc, I put the 1 greater than 2 and 2 greater than 3. You can see in the table in the table that when you see the mean differences, our middle adulthood, first I say that the first age group is early adulthood, the second is middle adulthood, and third is the late adulthood. Our first group, early adulthood, is greater than 2, that is the middle adulthood, and then the second, that is the middle adulthood, is greater than the late adulthood. So that's why I put 1 greater than 2, 2 greater than 3. So simple. Here is the interpretation according to APS 7 format. We go through it. If you have any question, you can ask in the group and also here. So let's move towards our finding. Let me check the time. So basically, these are the analysis, and this is overall the interpretation. So basically, thank you for your time, as we just focus on this session today on the simple t-test and the simple one-way ANOVA. Next, we move only the regression analysis in the SPS in our 4 workshop, and also I just try to work on the independent t-test and also the multiple ANOVA, so you can understand there are the other ways to do the ANOVA and t-test. So that's why I just add the regression in our 4th workshop. Thank you for your time, and Miss Alicia, please can you take the lead?
Sure. Thank you so much for elaborating the t-test and the ANOVA, and what is the difference between them, and why we need to, when we need to do the t-test and when we need to apply the ANOVA. So participants, hope you all get the detailed discussion on the t-test and the ANOVA. Now you have any questions, so please let me know in the chat box.
Also, in the meantime, first of all, I thank you for the Kashf-e-Khudi for their time. Basically, they are the basically they are also the mental well-being awareness platform, where you go check this platform and also like, share with your friends. So with the help of this is all happen and possible. So thank you for their time. So let's start the discussion. Yes, please. We have about 10 minutes for the discussion.